Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the beautiful game Chronicles. Today, we're with a special guest, none other than Raphael, and I'm your host, Gilbert Bita. I want to talk much about Raphael, but the best thing to do is to let Raphael really give you a background story about himself, all the way from Brazil, out here in Huntington Beach, doing amazing culture FC stuff. Raphael, do you want to take over?
Yeah, so, my name is Rafael Alves. I had been in the U.S. for 10 years and a half now, I would say. Was a kid from Brazil. They started playing football when I was 4. That's what I remember. And, just play for fun for all the way until 8, 9, until I got into a school of soccer. My family moved a lot in Brazil from like a Santos city to the inner city called Pindamonhangaba. It's like a native Brazilian name.
Yeah, that is.
And then I got like from there to Santos all over the place because my dad was an artist. And then when I moved to Santos about this age, 8 to 9, I got into a school of football over there because that's what I have. Either having a professional academy for youth or a school of football. So into the school of football where like Santos saw me for the first time. And then I went to the Santos Youth system at that time. I stayed there from 9 to 12. And then my family needed to move back to the same city, inner city, because of the conditions and everything. I need to leave Santos to go there. And I stayed there for a few years, played there too, until I became a professional at 15 years old in a smaller club. And around the same era as a second division club at that time. And then after, Santos got interested in me again. And then I moved back to Santos at 18. And then officially got contract by Santos, went to different places, went alone here and there, played futsal professionally too, did a lot until I was about 27-ish when I was recently married, talked to my wife and decided to move out of Brazil, and then I ended up here in Orange County, without knowing one person, without speaking the language or anything. What attracted me here was the full volley nets at Huntington. Because I play a lot of full volley when I was about to retire, and here I am, after a few months here, I met Adriano, that is, my partner in this whole culture process. And since then we start developing what I do today.
That's amazing. I mean, you have a very, everybody has their own journey. Your journey is unique to itself. All the travels, within Brazil, experiencing different, obviously Brazilian cultures. Every country has its own like hidden culture.
Yes.
Like in Kenya, you go to Nairobi, it's a whole different culture from people that come out from the suburban areas.
Yes.
You come to Nairobi, it's a whole different. The slang is different there too.
Yes.
Yeah. So. You experience that in a soccer world too.
Yeah.
You travel with your dad doing art stuff and also playing soccer.
Yes.
Must have been like challenging for you. Obviously, getting to see the art part and then also getting to experience the soccer life. How are you balancing that?
Yes, I think for us, especially when you go from a country like Brazil, have a lot of similarities if you compare to the African countries, right? So the social disparity is extremely big. So I work from the really low end socially in Brazil when you're like, really poor and you don't have many options, right? So you're kind of surviving. So when my dad needs to find jobs here and there, we just sort of follow up as kids. And of course was hard because, you have friends in a place and then you're going to go somewhere else. And then you cry because you're leaving your friends behind and this and that. It's hard to adapt. With football, same thing. Because you come from a place where the slang is different, as I say. The way we speak in Brazil, the accent's really different in the whole country. Some places it's hard to understand the same Portuguese from other places. It's unreal, right? So people have no idea. So I moved from a beach city that is Santos to the inner city, we talk completely differently. And I'll be bullied into it, and football part, same thing. Football in Brazil is gigantic, but it is like most of the people that play football, like any place in the planet, like the great athletes, they're mostly black and everything. And I was in the middle of it too, in that mix, right? So Brazil don't have much of it in terms of you're not really segregated, you're all together and mixed. However, we have the teasing part, right? So like, you're the white kid playing football, they come and try to tease you and get you out of the game, you know. But I was a street kid, poor, so I just dealt with that, and they were supposed to. At that time, I couldn't feel that was extremely hard because my family was always really united. So I think that's what got us through everything. And now I'm just thankful for it because I think I am the person I am now because of those difficulties too. I think that the biggest thing for me working here for this long, especially in Orange County, is that disparity of people that when they do have the need, they have different ways to see or to face situations, while when people have to more than enough, sometimes it is tough, especially the sport itself, right? So people that don't have much, the sport's really a way out of all the hard situations, or they see a future over there too. So they need always bring those players to their best capacities and everything, while here it's really tough. Like, come from a place where in Brazil, sometimes the coach come to me and say, "Hey, put your heart in the tip of your shoes." It's like things like that.
Yeah.
Run after the ball like it's a plate of food. There's like famous sentences in Brazil. While over here, if I say something like that, I say, "Oh, who is this guy?" It's a whole different reality. That's for sure.
Yeah, the cultures again, it's a whole different thing, and I love the way you just presented that. The way people see things here is way different
It is a way.
because culturally, you're used to the way you see and approach things. And
100%.
it's different, and the way people intermingle, back home, say in Brazil and in Canada, is way different. People are more friendly and welcoming and community like as opposed to here, people are more like individual driven, like how much, and people are not used to seeing, different perspectives.
Yes.
They're used to like one perspective. It's gotta win, 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 win. There's no losing. There's no,
There's no after that.
yeah.
Right. So like I said, the main aspect is the social aspect.
Yeah.
So football is a social interaction,
Yeah.
pretty much, and a way of is a cultural expression too. While over here is much different. It is much more a structured environment when what prevails is the business itself, right?
Yes.
On any different level. I even saw in a small interview yesterday of a Brazilian player, professional player, that played in the national team, playing Shakhtar Donetsk and everything. And he was retired in Brazil, and he decided to move to the U.S. to play because his family wants to come here. And he went to Philadelphia Union. And the way he put this is really the way you see here. Like, you have the whole global, idea of the same sport that do football.
Yeah.
While here we do soccer. And it's not because of the name. Forget the whole idea of like this discussion about the name. It's really a different way of doing the same thing. So in the other countries, the whole business thing regarding related to soccer, it comes after the football part is developing the communities.
Yeah.
And then they see an opportunity to develop a business. Over here, they develop the business thinking about how to get the community involved. Yes. So it's totally the opposite. And it happens from the youth level all the way into the professional level here.
Yeah.
Right. While in the other places, no, the community owns that thing. And then the whole business people, they see an opportunity how to make money to help the community, and then make the economic side of it flourish, right? So it's really different than here. And for me, that's the main comparison you can make with both worlds, right? So while have what dictates the sport over here, it is the business first, while what dictates the sport in other places is the community.
Yeah.
There's no way that you can have the business part just dictating all the directions of it, right?
Yeah, it kind of affects, also, the soccer system here, like the MLS, the NWSL, how, teams are, how fan base is, how they relate to, the community,
100%.
I don't want to go off topic on that. I want us to keep on that because we want to talk about that eventually. But you travel, all over the place and played pickup games all over the places when you're traveling with your dad. You've come here too, and not long ago. You experienced playing pickup game too.
Yes.
What would you say is different? Like you comparing yourself when you're in Brazil and then seeing the same system here in America. How was it like for you in Brazil, and how is it different from the American system or the American way?
So we're talking about the whole football system itself, or the pickup only?
take it out. You can fly with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
fly
So
with it.
basically, if you go to the whole system itself, like you go to any place in the planet, you have like the professional teams, right? The professional clubs in every area in that country, and then you have smaller clubs that play inferior divisions. They're almost like satellites for those big clubs, right? The whole rest of the whole country, whoever plays the sport is recreation.
Yeah.
Nothing is structure, right? So like what you call schools of football.
Yeah.
So every place in the planet will have schools of football for players that are not in the level to play in the the competitive level. That's the biggest difference in my opinion. While over here, there's no schools, it doesn't exist, and whoever wants to play the sport in a competitive, environment goes to clubs, which they're not clubs. They don't have a structure. To define a club overseas, you gotta have a structure as a club, like a clubhouse, a pool, a field, and this and that. While here the clubs, they rent parks and they're a club, right? They don't have a spot. They don't have like a stadium. They don't have locker rooms.
They don't have a facility.
And they don't have a facility and a connection with the community because the community goes to that facility, right? Most of the time, the community were the ones that like built out that facility, right? While here, it is a big difference, a big gap. While like you can just create a club through nothing, right? So you just let's have a club. You do whatever's supposed to be done, and that club is created. With that being said, they create a bunch of divisions. So everyone that wants to play a structure, they go to a club. So you play like 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever, and 100 different leagues that you name it, While in other countries, you're gonna have, okay, let's go to a small country that is famous. Like, I'm gonna go to Spain.
Okay.
We'll have Barcelona in the top, right? And then we'll have all the other first division teams.
Or we could just start with the Brazil, Real Madrid.
Or Real Madrid, whatever it is, right? Yeah. Let's go to Brazil then to make it easier. Okay. You go to Santos. Everybody knows Santos, that Pelé came from, Neymar, there's a club that played there, right?
Yeah.
Rodrigo, all of that. Robinho, you name it. So go to Santos. Around Santos City, you have Portuguesa Santista, that is a small club, not even in the second division, it's really small. Have São Vicente, that is another small club. And have like AD Guarujá, that is another club. So everyone that plays around, either they're looking to play for those clubs, because like once you make into those academies, you get supported by it, right? So they give you any sort of money, rides, or food, tickets, whatever. They support you and your family already as a kid, right? While in the schools of football, you need to somewhat pay for it because they're schools, right? So your dream is going to one of those academies, so you start getting supported and you have a pathway. That's what it is. And then we have right next to us São Paulo, Palmeiras, Corinthians. They are like in 40 minutes from Santos. So those are the goal. And then I have people from all over the place trying to get into those clubs. And do have smaller clubs around that they're also a possibility.
Right.
Everything else, schools. While here, like, it's incredible. We have one small club with like 30 teams. And then there's supposedly big clubs around that have like thousands of teams. Like, it's impossible, right? So you don't have, not all of those kids should be in that environment, because they're just not ready. They should be prepared, or we should just not play in that environment. It's okay to play just for fun, And the main comparison between here and another place in the planet, it's impossible to accept. People here don't accept that their kid or the kid itself, that they don't belong into that level yet. They try to find a way to pay for most part and get there.
Right.
While in other countries, it's clear what is the top level, and only the ones that are really top goes there, right? So the rest play for fun. They love the sport. They follow the sport. They play it, and they go for pickup all over the place. Even first of all, the pickups over here barely exists, right? So we cannot find a pickup. We cannot play for fun. If you show up in a park with a ball and you see a stranger right there and say, "Let's play," they're gonna look at you. No, I'll stay with my ball playing. Stay with yours playing, right?
Yeah.
So the social part we were talking in the beginning comes into the game now. It's like, no, it's my ball, my privacy. I do my thing here. I'll be juggling, but no, let's play together. No, I'll juggle mine and juggle yours, right? I own my own ball. This kind of thing. And then even the pickups, people they're starting to do that because that talk has been, all over the place that the whole planet does this way. Even those pickups, they are structured.
Right.
You need someone to organize it, and then people need to sign up and this and that. It's not a place that you can go, a public place. You can make a correlationship with basketball here. That's the main sport, if not the only, that it can relate it to football in other countries. When they have those communities, when they go and play basketball.
Yeah, you show up any park where there's a basketball playing, you can easily
And
jump.
the top players come from there, from the ghettos, from this and that. Right? So that's how football is done in any place in the planet. You know, even like a guy that played for a pro academy, youth pro academy, that was my case. What I look forward the most is to play the freaking pickup.
Yeah.
Because that's when you can really play. You can do whatever you want. You can express yourself. You can just like learn. You can get beat up and then you get up and try to play other people, the bad people too. Not everybody's great playing pickups.
Yeah.
So you can try tricks. You can do whatever. There's no rule, right? While here, like if you ask people to do that, they'll think, no, my kid's not learning. You know, where's the coach? Where's the structure? You know, like who's guiding my kid?
The system here, like you said, we were talking on the last podcast, and one of the things we were talking about is, I mean, obviously it's the same topic, the American soccer culture, and it's structure based, you know. Everything is structure based and it's business oriented, and it's funny enough, the people that are talking about it, like, you know, people that came in to try to, you know, do something different for the system, you know. Pickup games in itself is a structure, you know. I mean, people are making money off of it. People are also spending their time. So almost like a community on its own.
Yes.
And you realize that people that go to those pickup games are people that just want to play, have fun, and have a good environment, you know. But for the most part of it, when you look at it compared to other you know, your countries or continents, it's here is more structured than it is anywhere else.
Yes.
You put it the best way possible. You go to a pickup, you go to a park, you find somebody with a soccer ball. It's really, really hard to get that person to play with you.
Yes.
They'll be like, ah, no, this is my soccer ball. Unless they're also part of a soccer community somewhere. They're open-minded. They're like, you know, open to kick the ball around.
Yes, because even in soccer, you do have the separation. You know, you're in California and have people from all over the planet. However, we do have communities extremely separated. You want to find Latinos, you go to Santa Ana. You want to find, you know, Asians, you go to Irvine. You want to, you know, that's how it is here. And it goes to the sport.
Right.
So if I play MLS next, and you do play MLS next, oh, we can play together in the park.
Yeah.
You know, if I play MLS, you play Flight 2, no. You know, not in my level. Not in my, yeah. Like I said, while we come from a place where I would love to play kids that are worse than me because I could do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And I would love to play kids better than me. I'll challenge them. You know, and older guys, they'll throw me up. I grew up playing in concrete. So I'll be skinless in the elbows, in the knees. And sometimes I'll get in my professional youth academy like that, and the coach like, what happened? No, just stripping the ground, you know, like whatever. Like I knew already, you know, how many times I got hurt, like rolled ankle, whatever, playing pickup, and went to practice, like, you know, like a lot of pain, and pretend the player right there caused the damage. And but those guys knew, but they knew that also was part of like who I was as a player.
Yeah.
You know, like without that, I wouldn't be quite close.
You know, think when you're saying it like that, and you know, it brings me memories of players like, you know, there's this Brazilian player. I'm forgetting his name. His name goes away. I think he played for Santos too. He was really, really good. He was also too much into so many things. He used to drink so much. Just I don't know if Maradona is the same way, but a close comparison in Maradona, right? Drinking too much, so much into so much drama.
Yeah.
But he was really, really, really good. I think he was better than Pelé.
Garrincha.
I don't know. I forgot his name. It was dark skinned, if it helps. He played for, I think he played for Santos. He didn't have so much money. He was poor.
Because I have many stories like that in Brazil, like many. You know, the one that was extremely famous for that, it was Garrincha, that he got somewhere. However, he lost a lot too because of the drinking and everything.
It crushed it.
Many.
It crushed it. You know, you're talking about, you know, you getting into practice, get into your club with injuries. He used to come like that with so many injuries, and then the only reason, or one of the things that happened in his story was there was a club that took a big risk on him. They were like, you know what? We're gonna straighten him. We're gonna make sure he doesn't go drinking. We're gonna do everything we can possible to keep him in the club, to keep him out of trouble, as long as he plays. His name keeps coming and running away from me.
Okay.
His name keeps coming and running away from me. And all I'm thinking about is Pelé, but I think it's Fali, it's something along those lines.
Okay.
But the reason I'm bringing him up is the passion. You see players like Ronaldinho.
Yes.
Ronaldinho is one of my favorite players of all the time.
It has to be. For love football, it has to be.
Yes, yeah. Ronaldinho, getting into the game, enjoying the game, just the passion.
Yes.
You play with a smile. That's what it is. It's
100%.
just enjoying the game.
Yes.
But you look at the structure now. It's and you look at. I mean, I coached club. I mean, with I think Adriano as well, with Thiago, with David Zilpa,
Yes.
Padedoras, and strikers. And what I was noticing during those times is the same thing we're talking about, the structure. The parents expect certain things from the team.
Yes.
They expect their kid to be good overnight. They don't want to lose. It's a hard thing. It takes away the passion from the kids. Like it's almost like it's really really hard, and it became hard for me to coach. And I was like, I'd rather do private. And in my private, one of the things I was telling the parents is like, your kid cannot be good overnight. You have to, not necessarily just private. I also started doing my own teams. I had my own like little, futsal teams.
Yeah.
And what I was going with that was telling the parents was, you have to focus on one thing, development or winning. And developmental part has less to do with winning.
A lot less.
A lot less to do with winning. So if you want your kid to develop, that's what I want to do, is help the kid develop, become a better player.
Yes.
As opposed to, if you want your kid to win when he's not even good yet, you're asking an impossible thing,
100%.
Yeah. So the passion, for the players and all that. Do you feel like here, I mean, I think maybe a bit too much, but I want to hear your opinion. How do you see it, given that you guys are running culture?
Yes.
How do you see it, the passion for playing here compared to other parts of the world?
Yeah, so I see that in the way I put this, like that's what I brought up, like the whole comparison with what the Brazilian player said, that the planet does football and here we do soccer, right? So when you do something different than the rest of the planet, you take away how the same game is developed culturally in those places, right? So
Right.
here there's no culture of football in the way it is in the other places. And if it is done in the same way in the whole planet and you try to reinvent the wheel somewhere else, it won't work, right? So what do you see? You see they're trying to take a few cultural aspects of other games, other sports, into football, soccer, right? So you see, for example, I see much more anger in competitive teams. It's almost like a rugby or American football. Like they want to break you in half, and they love doing that. Like, oh, super competitive and aggressive. I never heard the word aggressive in football until I moved to the U.S. That's never came into play, right? You can say aggressive. No, never came into play.
I know, right?
But the first time I heard it was here, and I said like, what do they want to fight? Because and I have a really contradictory line over there, fine line, because at the same time they want the kids to go and break in half. If the kids get mad at each other and they fight, which is really common in South America, any place, and the kids fight playing football. It's like, no, my gosh, I just did. What happened? But calm down. We're all like trying to instigate, that, and when the kids lose it, they lose their minds. It's, oh no, I cannot do that. I'm like, calm down. Like, the kids are kids.
Yeah.
So, and all of that works in a structured environment.
Right.
If the kids fight playing pickup, the other kids will deal with it and it is done. But while they are in a competitive and structured environment, that anger takes away the game.
Right.
So I have an example, even in our club, right? So our clubs is different, that. We really promote that, the free play and the flair and everything. However, I have a kid that joined us 5 years ago, and he ended up playing the Afghanistan national team, Malhan. He plays as a left wing, and he loves like to do moves and take the foot up and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And some players or some teams, when he gets the ball, it's like, come on, pass the ball, come on, we're staying with the ball. While we come from a culture, and the football planet comes from a place where those are the hardest of the game. You don't buy tickets, with all due respect, you don't buy tickets to watch to touch game.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't sell. You can even go to the performance standpoint if you want to go that route. You go Barcelona right now. Barcelona is amazing.
Yeah.
Take him out of the equation then. They'll be good. There's no amazing anymore.
Yeah.
That's how it is. You need those guys to be there. Those are the ones that make the game.
Yeah.
While over here,
Mm-hmm.
it only works if you do the move, score the goal, and then you win, and it breaks everybody in half, and you defend after and do whatever. Man, they're kids. They first learn how to love the game and have that passion to try to do whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if they are good enough and develop that passion, and then you find the structure when they can try, that is 0.1% that ends up there. They try to play in the highest level. While here they promote everyone can go to the highest level. There's another conversation too that people here are not ready. It's not for everybody. No, it's for few.
Yeah.
So why losing it with everybody promoting that? Say, no, you can go college, can go this. No, you cannot.
Yeah.
You know? It's not even that amazing being there, to be honest, because I had been there. You know, it is not for everybody all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, so, but people here, they just want that because it's a status as well. It's part of being a really wealthy community when you get into this exclusive spot, the highest level, it is exclusive. It's not for everybody. If you can tell people they're a part of that, it is also nice in our social environment. So that's what prevails here, I would say, right? So while in the other places, you need to earn it.
Yeah. That, I mean, that's what we earn when we do the Jengas.
Yes.
That's your class. You don't want to get megged by Rafa twice.
Yes. That's how it is.
Yeah.
You know, like and because for us, in the end of the day, to get there in the highest level possible, the question is just one. Like, it's not like your background, what league you play for, nothing like that. The question is just one: are you good enough? Because there's no connection, there's no money, there's nothing that will keep you there. You might someone like, okay, I got on a way to get into Galaxy because my dad knows the director, and I can give us some money here, and I can sponsor the club, whatever. And then I get in. If you're not good enough,
But you don't do it. Yeah.
and that's why people here and they cannot accept that. They always think the kids you miss out something. They always think, no, there is a way. First, to have a way, you gotta be good enough. And if you're not really passionate about it, you won't get there. You know, so you gotta be with the ball like 6-8 hours a day, not training. That's the other confusion too. They think, no, gotta practice 6 hours a day. No, you're not training. Because the ball is almost part of our body. You're with it everywhere. You kick it in the wall. You juggle. You play with your friends. That's the 6-8 hours a day. It's not like a private training coach. This, and that, agility. You know, and that's the main thing here.
Yeah. I remember doing one of the practices. I had this private session with this kid. He was very new to the game. It's like, I mean, selling that to a kid is a really, really hard thing to tell them, hey, you gotta be with the ball all the time, and understand the ball, know the ball, feel the ball. It's a hard thing to say, but it is, essentially once they understand it, they're gonna become one with the ball. It's like once you are with the ball, it's almost like those movies that you see where those people are doing that kung fu cheese or whatever.
100%. Is that 100%?
It is, because the relationship you have with the ball is way different. You start feeling it. You instinctively know what it exactly. Yeah. You know what's going to happen. You can change, you can move different directions.
Yes.
You become a really good tactical player. Or technical player. Technical player. And then now you start learning this. I mean, obviously there's different, steps to soccer, right?
Of course.
Yeah, there's the technicality, there's the tactical and whatnot. In order to get there, it's a process. And
in order to get there in the highest level, you might have one and not the other. So that's why the highest level is a really delicate topic. While people here try to find a perfect equation for it. So I work personally with the Brazilian Confederation, right? And you go deep into like genetics for football, that deep. So have people that they were born for it, period.
Yeah.
Like physically sane. That's it. And that's something you cannot buy. You gotta be reborn. Like, gonna do what? Gonna give yourself to born again to try it? No. Like, you're not born for it. When you talk about the stars that we have in the whole history, they are one of a kind. They're genius of the thing. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of those guys too, they're just like a pro. They're also born for it.
Yeah.
And most people are not.
Yeah. It's like the equation between Cristiano and Messi.
100%.
Yeah.
But the point is, Messi was born for it. Like, let's say he was kissed by God. Cristiano was maybe like hugged by God. He was also like, that's what people don't understand. People think it's only hard work, not talent.
They haven't seen Cristiano in Manchester United or
seen him
scoring.
Well, if Cristiano is only work hard, well, work hard there and try to be Cristiano. Like, you know, like people are just so naive in terms like they gotta have that stereotype and definition of. Are so many elements involved, right? But first, you're gonna be born for it. That's the first one. You're gonna have like we'll call like a biological individuality.
Yeah.
Thing for the specific sport.
Right.
And you're gonna have that for football, and then you're gonna have the connection with the ball, and then the passion to have that connection with the ball, and then maybe all the other things will, you know, you can learn tactical, you can learn this, you can learn all of that. So what you see here, they try to train, they try to create methods that there's no base or scientific foundation, because that's how deep you go with culture, go to whatever our culture says, that whatever the empirical knowledge you have, and science. So most of the trainings you see around, there's no backed up, they're not backed up by nothing. Are like YouTube, whatever videos of a training with if you train with the tennis ball, you're gonna be better in touching the ball. Or if you do this, it comes from nowhere, you know. And people try to kind of check all those boxes, the physical, the tactical. If you turn the neck as much as you can, you're gonna learn how to scan the field, but you cannot trap the ball yet, you know. So they try to do everything at once, and the kid burns out at 14.
Yeah, they're trying to get there on an instant. It's a hard, because I mean, it's almost like the generation we have now, where click, 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 instant gratification. You know, you want to be better tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, then it's not for you. Move into another sport.
Yes.
You know. So I remember the name of the guy. It was Tene.
Tene?
Tenes.
Oof. Homem.
Tene.
Yeah.
Tene. Yeah. You know, I'll find out what club he played for.
But like I said, you know, it sounds cliche, but I have so many of those over there.
Yeah.
You are still the main sport of players in the planet, and I think we will be for the whole history, because it just, again, you turn the TV football. Like 85% of what you see on Brazil, it is football, right? So it's a part of our every. Even our slangs, like my mom sometimes, she never played football before. She doesn't watch a football match, zero. She'll come to me and say, hey, come on, how come like you missed that? The ball's on the PK mark. It's like a saying, right? Of putting like, how did I miss that? You know, my mom would say something like that. Or she'll come to me and say, oh, I was almost, man, I hit the post. You know, it becomes like our way of talking. A dialogue in Brazil has a lot of soccer orientation too. You know, it's just like really different. It is all over the place.
Yeah, I think maybe I got the name wrong. I don't know, but it's Tene is what I remember. Tene. Yeah, an amazing player. One of the clubs, you know, took responsibilities for him. They're like, we're gonna keep him in check. We want to make sure that he doesn't do anything crazy. But again, it's all about the passion of the game and also trying to win. I mean, besides just enjoying the game, as a club, is always winning. You want to win. You know, when you're in a big club, they want to win because that's how you give back to the community that is supporting you.
Yes, but that happens in the older ages, right? And that's the main issue, whatever happened here too. Like if you go to, for example, again, going to an easy example, you go to Santos Academy. If you win in the really, really young ages, it is only good for the club reputation.
Right.
So they can keep bringing talent there and promoting it.
Right.
But what I want a player, or like when I want a player to win, is over 16 years old. 15 to 16 years old. You gotta hit puberty, you gotta be mature enough, and then winning becomes a thing so you can get seen. So we can get a reputation to go somewhere, to sign a contract. Before that, there's no application, you know, just like a waste of time. No focus on that. Wow, my kid was like world champions at 10 years old. Like, who was winning all the goals, you know, like, and that's scientific, right? So it's pure physiology. Like highest level or high level or elite does not exist until you're talking about grown-up men.
Yeah.
Only top high-level professional athletes are considered elite. So you cannot sell like a kids program as elite or high level or blah blah blah. And that's what we have here. You know, that's for me one of the biggest issues around.
Yeah. We're talking about that, the elite players and player development. I want us to just talk a little bit about Culture FC.
Of course.
Yeah. If
100%.
Yeah. So can you please tell us just a little bit about Culture FC? What are the things that you guys are doing different, and how do you see culture, 5-10 years, considering their American soccer culture?
Yeah, so culture, it started with me and Adriano working for some of those clubs, you know, and identifying that what they were worrying about was how many hats are paying for the club, and there's no discussion about football. So I'll go to those meetings and probably have been with me in some of those meetings and like, oh, how many of our kids pay?
Yeah.
Oh, but come on, we gotta have more kids paying. And I would like raise my hand with my broken English and say, okay, we're gonna talk about training, or we're gonna talk about what we're doing with the kids, and like, hey, come on, this Brazilian game, like, and they'll not like it, because again, I consider football. I consider myself like football.
Yeah.
That's who I am. Without that, I'm nobody. I even make always the same stupid comparison or like hypothetical situation. I tell people, if I have someone kidnapping my family and getting a gun, or look at how hard I'm going to on my wife's and daughter's head and say, okay, I let them go if you'll never talk or touch football anymore. I'll of course pick my daughter and wife, but I will die. I'll be just like a table. It's impossible. That's who I am. So for me, when I started working here and I saw that there's nothing related to football. Everything's about how much or how many kids are paying. I talked to Adriano and say, man, I cannot, either we'll quit, I won't work with that anymore, or we'll start our own thing, right? And that's how everything started. So we start going through, again, the empirical knowledge you have about the game, and I start studying football from as much as you can imagine, right? So our structure is really based from futsal. This for us is a foundation of all top players in the planet. And you go from there respecting, the physiology of the kids. Like we'll have any specific, we call phases. We have a phase 1 for the little guys when you apply a lot of things. Then phase 2 when we start training them a little more. And then phase 3 when we really focus in competition. So, and you do that with then training 4 times a week, while 2 of those days have pickups involved. 2 of those days they have like half of the time with technical and futsal ideas, and then they just play, because they won't find that anywhere else. And they need that environment, that time to kind of try things out and be creative and, everything we promote as a program. And then we start having success, right? So having a specific team in our program that had been with me for 10 years and a half. So they did this whole mega cycle from 6 years old, now they're 17.
Yeah.
And they're extremely successful. They have gone like Europe multiple times. They have done amazing there, and they do amazing here too. And unfortunately, you are unable to get in of the big leagues as a club.
Yeah.
So the route we are going over now is we're skipping that. So we have 6 of our players that I think at one point you're gonna get them in our whole podcast too. Going to Santos in Brazil with us, because they're using the connections we have to just like forget those leagues, forget the system here that are only focused on money itself, and let's give those kids a real opportunity. So they're going to Brazil with me. We're having a partnership with Osasuna coming up. We're just bringing those kids to the real thing.
Right.
Not to those like let's go to the Barca camp when it's a Barca franchise, Barca foundation that makes a camp. There's no connection with Barca at all. No, we're going to Santos. So those kids are staying there in the real academy of their age group for 3 weeks being evaluated, right?
Yeah.
And you come to the beginning of our conversation. Are they good enough? You see, that's the first step. They're 17 now. Now it's time to, okay, we're good enough, we're not. If we're good enough, you keep on insisting on that. If something's not for you, you see other opportunities.
Yeah.
If we're not good enough, just play the game for fun and enjoy it still because you love it. But it's time to make a definition, not before. Right? So that's the pathway you go with culture. We have many partnerships coming up, and you want to pretty much be a reference of football development and human development, right? Because we're clear with that too. You want to be honest with parents and not promote that everyone can be elite.
Yeah.
You want to say that you're going to provide all the tools to everybody to get in the best they can with the sport and learn a lot of human skills with us, especially in the social part. Have many social rules, the culture that I have seen. Our community is extremely strong. And then for the ones that really stick with that and really want to do it, they're going to be developed enough to do so, and you have the connections to provide that. That's what we're going to do as a club, and I think we're on the right direction.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I like the the idea of bringing them to Santos to kind of like get that experience of a pro club level, pro contracts, opportunity to be really get scouted at the club itself. You get to experience that. That's amazing. And also the travels that you guys do, doing is it Carabao, right?
You went to Nick this year, right, in Spain, and a year before went to Athens in the Elite Neon Cup. There's the biggest tournament in Greece. And the same thing, you only go to tournaments during spring break so you can really face real academies. You don't go like to a summer trip in Europe when they're just going there for fun. And like I said, if you are promoting there playing Real Madrid in summer, it's a lie, because no real academy is training some. So you need to go to the real thing, and they're already having that experience of facing the real level. However, there's nothing like Brazil. And it's not because I'm from there. I'm not biased at all. If you talk about the youth level, Brazil is good overall, but the youth level, there's no comparison. The level of maturity, the level of competition, because again, those kids, their family are depending on them. So it's their work. I was one of those kids, so it is a whole different reality, and it'll be extremely interesting to see how they will deal with that. I'm super excited too. It's almost like a alternative reality for me, bringing those kids to my own like home ground city, and they're gonna be there with me, crossing the same streets, and it'll be unreal, so I'm super excited for that.
I was gonna ask you how it's gonna feel for you, especially going back home, bringing people that want to learn the culture and the way you play. They just get it from the source that you got it from.
Yeah, so for me, I'll be honest with you, I'm prepared. However, I think a lot of things that will happen there, it'll be somewhat even emotional, right? Because I have been with these kids since they're 6 years old. They're almost men now, and they're going to my place. It's to the same locker rooms, to the same fields, to the same. Some of the people are still there, that have been with me, and it'd be amazing. I mean, I'm just excited to bring them to everything I can, to the actual, even a football match. Like, with all the respect to the matches here, like people have no idea, like the atmosphere, and I want them to see all of that, and it's almost like a final test. Like, is that really for you?
Yeah.
Because it is different.
Yeah, talking of which, the football match, the experience there. You go to LAFC game, you go to LA Galaxy game, you go to Angel City game. Now we have San Diego. When you go to their games, the fan base, the club loyalty, it's a whole different story. Like I've seen like a few times, on the LA Galaxy game, they're losing maybe 2-0 or 3-0, and you start seeing the fans are walking up the field. What I mean, you're somebody that is. I mean, we've experienced. I don't want to just I don't want to put myself out of this, but you've experienced the level of passion that people have in the game. Yes, people get upset, right?
Yes,
Yes, fans get upset, like we're not doing good. So but how would you say about club loyalty and fan loyalty to a
Man, but again, you go to the beginning of your conversation when you talk about soccer and football, right? So since soccer is done upside down, is the business that created, and then you try to make a fan base, you're never gonna have the passion. Because when you have Santos, for example, they represent the city. So the whole city was based, the community, whatever, right? So Santos has a name as Pele. So Pele at one point was the second name, the most famous name in the planet, only behind Jesus Christ. So that's how big it is. So he put Brazil, the whole country, in the map, right? So for Santos, we're proud of that thing, right? So how come we go to LA? Go to LA, it's a gigantic city, extremely famous worldwide too. And without having any community connection with a club, I just fund the club out of the blue. LAFC, boom. They don't have fans because there's no like youth level. There's no small club that tried to go to the first division. There's nothing related to the community. You just create a business-oriented franchise, and then you, okay, come to my game. Like, but who are you? That's the main difference. So when you go to other countries, your lifestyle, your actual life is connected with that club, which means you might be the best, you might have the best life on earth. If our club does bad, you just feel like your life is miserable because it's part of who you are. It's almost like it's our identity. So I'm a Santos supporter. If you say our Corinthians supporter, we start already arguing. Like, come on, man, that's like, like we're better than you guys. How it is, While over here, you can have a Lakers fan with a whatever fan sitting right next to each other, like in a game. Not in Brazil, man. I think we're almost like you're over the top. I think we should be more civilized, to say this way. But that's what it is. The passion is that, and it is in Italy, it is in Spain, it's all over the place because that's a relationship with your identity, with your community, with your city. Like while here, no, they build the business first and then they try to attract the community.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that fit the business. While there, the community creates the whole atmosphere and the environment, and then, we have an opportunity to create a business together, and then they get the business there, and then of course you have the whole business is big, in football worldwide. However, just a little example: the Super League.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to do the Super League in Europe, right?
Yeah.
It'll never work because who runs the freaking sport are the people. So the people don't want it, you won't do it.
Yeah.
Period. While over here, who cares? I do it and the people accept it and that's it. So that's why the fan base is almost no, it is artificial.
Yeah.
It's almost like you are in a event while everybody's just there for the popcorn and it's not like that sitting and watching. They hang out. So it's an event which is nice, but there's no passion. That's for sure.
I think one thing I would say though about LAFC is, besides just the business aspect, I was not there when LA Galaxy was built. They do have their fan base, but the LAFCs when they started off, I think that's what they were trying to do, in my opinion, like rallying the community first, trying to get the community to be involved. Their thing of shoulder to shoulder, they try to rally the community together, get the community together, and then build a fan base. I don't know if you've been to an LAFC game.
No, I did. However, we're talking about decades.
Yeah. No, I
That's a
so
bit
agree.
different. So like even if you try to do that, like we said, it is artificial. Has an intention behind. Let's try to, because they thought, let's make a business different than the other. So let's try to work with the community first. So it is not organic.
Yeah.
And football is the most organic sport that is. Right? As I say, like, it's a beautiful game because it's life itself. So you cannot recreate that. It has to be organic. So if you try to recreate it, it becomes a structure like everything else here. So how do you do that in Brazil? Let's try to go to the community, put money into it. So try to kind of almost like recruit the community, and then you create a club. But the community didn't do that by itself. So it is better. I think it's better than nothing. However, I think, for example, we have a club in Orange County, and I tell everybody, all of the players that play in Orange County, they should support either LAFC or LA Galaxy. For most part, LA Galaxy because it's older, right? None of them do. So 0 of my players will show up with an LA Galaxy jersey or LAFC jersey because they don't have a dream of playing there. They don't have a connection. And they are 40 minutes from there. Like I said, everyone around Santos wants to play for Santos. That's the goal. So here, there's no, where's the Orange County kid star that plays for LA Galaxy? How can you connect the community with those clubs that are right there in the corner? So the whole Southern California should go for who? LA Galaxy or LAFC.
Yeah.
Not Barcelona, Inter Milan, or Tottenham, or like freaking Premier League team. They're freaking in England.
Yeah.
But that's the sad part.
I think maybe with time, I'm not gonna vouch for any of them, but I think maybe with time, like you're right, like it should be like that. Like you're here, this is your home, this is where you belong, and this is who you're supposed to support. Yeah. Before we go, I have a few questions for you. One of them is there's this. I think, what is the most important thing? Is it when a team loses, is it the coach's fault, or is it usually the player's fault or the team's fault?
And you were talking about which level?
Any level.
Any level.
Let's talk about the professional level.
Let's talk about the professional level.
Let's ignore the youth where winning doesn't really count.
I think it's really hard to dictate, that's the coach's fault, right? Unless you follow up the process. So because what happened in the professional level, what it comes outside to the media is like 5%. So sometimes a player is in the bench and the player is training really bad. The player is hurt. The player was vomiting before, and you don't know. And you think, the coach is just like dumb, like keeping that guy out of the starting lineup, but you have no idea what happened, right? So to start from there. Might be the coach's fault if the club that hired the coach have no idea the way of the coach works, doesn't follow up with his game model, with the structure, with stuff like that. because what I see, especially in the U.S. and the USL levels, for example, have been in a few clubs. It's not defined the way the team plays, and MLS a lot of teams too. Like, because you go to Premier League, right, or La Liga, or in Brazil, whatever. Most teams, they do have a game model which defines the style of the team plays, right? It's more possession oriented. It's more like pressing in the last third. It is like a player that plays only transitional game, get like two lines of four, a line of 5 and 4, and then one player on top, and that you just go in counters, whatever it is. What you see here is almost like they don't have that definition. You just go there and play. Or if there is a definition, it is not clear, So in many places in the planet, the teams, they have a defined way of playing, and they adapt according to the opponent if the opponent is something they cannot keep up with. You only adapt your game model if you admit, I cannot play against these guys. They're too much better, so I need to try a different strategy.
Yeah.
While over here, either you see coaches, they are only focused on the opponent, they only play according to the opponent, or they don't have a defined game model.
Right.
You can see a lot of coaches here that they, honestly, it seems like they do the same way of the players. They come to the U.S. to kind of coach, and they're not going to have pressure to just do whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's the coach's fault. When you see that level, you don't see a defined game model, that's the coach's fault. If you see a defined way of playing, and the coach trying to implementing that, and it's not working because you see the players are not capable of doing it, and then it's the coach's fault, right? So like, let's say you hire me to LAFC, and I'm coaching the team. And then I got to adapt to the players, of course, but I'm famous for having a style of coaching. My teams play this way. And because not many coaches can be like Ancelotti, that they adapt to the players and can do everything. The guy is as extremely experienced, old, and has won everything. And many players are successful, they have one style. Guardiola changes his style. He has many changes within his style, but his style was defined, period. As with Enrique, that does PSG now, So other coaches, they can do a little bit of everything, which are called the licensed coaches, which is a problem in the youth and in the professional level. They don't develop their own way of working. They do this studying behind the sport, and they just replicate whatever they learned into the courses, right? So in this case, might be the coach's fault, but for most part, the coach doesn't play right.
Yeah, that's true.
In a game itself, you cannot blame the coach. If the structure behind the game, that's what makes the game, right? The game is this percentage of the whole process. The process is bad, that's on the coach. But the game, it don't change much. You were a player before, like the coach talks to you, like you hear, like you pretend you're here just to have the coach stop talking, right? The adjustments a coach can make is in a halftime, mostly, and that's about it. As a coach, like while the game is happening, you don't have much to do. If it can be the coach's fault, is the whole preparation is terrible, but while the game is happening, is on the players.
That's true.
Yeah.
Before we go, anything you'd want to share about culture for the people that don't know culture, how to join, for what they're gonna get, and what to expect rather.
Yeah, so I think even there, you try to make in a more community-oriented approach, right? So in culture tryouts, for example, and that's the part, as a business, we fail. Because you don't do like everyone else. You come to my club, you have this day to try out, and then I approve you in the same day, give me a paycheck. I lock you in, and then parents get happy because you got accepted.
Yeah.
We don't do it this way, right? And you lose many players, possible players like that, because that's the way the system works.
Right.
At culture, like people to come, check us out, feel that's a place for them, and then you go from there. So what I want to share, that you're trying to do what is right for the kids. Like our relationship with parents is extremely professional, while with the kids, it is professional, friendly. We try to create a connection with those kids. It's really hard for us, especially for where we're from, to really be only professional. Kids are kids. They're the most important thing there is, and I really try to teach them a lot and get connected with them as much as possible. It's really family oriented. We're an extremely good community for everybody. All the coaches from the youngest level all the way to the oldest know every single kid in the program. So we have that exchange of coaches all over the place. Myself personally, one of the directors, I know every single kid in the club. I don't know half of the parents, but I know every single kid, and I think that's our differential, right? So they're always connected. They don't have the separation of levels. We teach our kids to connect with each other. They're part of something bigger than themselves, and if you want to check us up, just go to our website and register to anything we offer, and come and check with your own eyes. We're not salespeople. I'll never be. I'm here for the football. And I think I will want to keep it this way. There's no way I cannot keep on promising you your kid will be this, your kid will be that. Even because the ones that will get there really feel. So I can promise that you're gonna have a great environment. Your kid will have something that we created with all the love we have and knowledge of the game, and whatever will happen, it is a matter of different, like, many factors.
Yeah.
Just come and check us out. That I think you're gonna like it. Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And for those viewers that are out there and listeners, I want to say a huge thank you for being with us until this last moment. Again, our special guest was none other than Rafael Alves and me, your always host, Gilbert Bita. And as we say, until next time, keep it up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rafa.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Now let me.